It's a new year. It's a new catalog. It's Märklin. Need I say more? Let's get into it. Hey everybody, Anthony Dodge, Model Train Outsider, the Märklin Outsider here with a video that's a day late because I was out of touch with the world yesterday. I got summoned down to the courthouse for jury duty. I didn't serve on a jury, but I was there all day, so I haven't seen anything. And of course, I like to do a first impressions of the catalog, but I'm a day late. So without any further ado, let's get into it with the catalog here. Obviously, an E95 is going to be featured and maybe the cool cards to go with it, but we'll see what's in there. And a drawing. All right, all the usual. Let's skip to it. Our Rio Grande, is that a F7 maybe? Well, we'll see. So as always, the magazine starts with MHI, the Märklin Händlers Initiative. This is only shops that are a member of the MHI group, which is a deal Märklin makes with model railway shops to sell, and only those that are a part of the package get to sell these items. For the first time, beginning in 2025, Model Bond Shop Lipa, my go-to shop, is now a part of the MHI. They've worked out a deal with Märklin, so they'll be doing it. So obviously we've got a classic F7. This is definitely interesting just because I do want to get an American, but I do want to get more of an American modern era. But a classic F7, Rio Grande Railway. They're even releasing it in the classic blue box over there. So kind of cool. And to be honest, not a lot of functions if you look at the digital functions. Headlight and direct control. So it's just a reissue apparently. And some cool cars to go with it. So I would say, just first reaction, seeing that it's just a reissue of an old one and they haven't even really upgraded the decoder to add more sound and various functions, that's probably a no deal for me. Even though it's being released as a classic set, this is an old tin plate. You look at that, they call it the U.S. tin plate freight car set. So yeah, they've just got the old molds and they're breaking out. It's cool. I don't want to be too negative on it, but where I might have been excited for a split second, if they're not going to at least upgrade it with a modern decoder, not for me. And then the caboose. So you got a cool little set here. So this is MHI exclusive, which means the price will be up for something that really doesn't cost a lot of money to produce. Excuse me. All right, another MHI is a V61, one of the common shunters. I have received a bunch of these from Herb. I've got various levels of shunters here, but I've got a V60. I don't think it's a V61, but they're basically the same. Cool set of freight here, coal cars. Looks like they are coming pre-weathered. And lo and behold, to pull that freight, we've got a dirtied up Class 218 in the Era 5 livery. And if you look right next to me here, definitely a more modern decoder. So another classic, it's a 218 in the previous, before the modern Faircares wrote consistency. Although you'd still see ones in this paint scheme running today. I mean, the 218s are omnipresent. So, very cool. And more freight to go with it. The load of pipe is kind of cool and different. I've seen them, but it's the first time I've seen it in a Märklin catalog in a while. So, that's kind of cool. And an old Haribo's refrigerator car with a brakeman's cab. And here we go. The electric giants of the DRG. So DRG would be East Germany, 1947 technically until 1990. So a lot of East German, I take it we're going to be doing. So the E95, but this is a Märklin exclusive. Again, there are people that are going to look at this and love it. I don't find it overly attractive, but clearly very well detailed. So Class E95 from East Germany. And then just a giant rake and cars that are going to come with it. You can see them numbered on the bottom, and they give you suggested runs. Now, here's the thing. As a Märklin person, you can run the tricks assortment. So down at the bottom there, you can see 24266 tricks, because they'll be differently numbered and so forth, so it makes it fit with the Märklin 46226. But you can't do it in reverse. If you run tricks, you can't add the Märklin. You have to buy a double set of the tricks cars. But yeah, a lot of functions, everything else. So if that's your era and your thing, your locale, I've got a couple of friends that do love their East German trains, so I'm sure they're kind of excited about that. If you know who you are, let me know down in the comments how you feel about the E95. And here are some of those wagons. The Märklin 46226, the Oldenburg dump car set. And very cool, to be honest. It's era 2, so that's a little bit out of my era, but as Joyce pointed out recently, apparently I have no era anymore, but no, I'd still prefer modern freight. Anyhow, my world is the stuff for kids, so I'll zip through this quickly, but you can take a quick look. They're bringing this one back, the 648, the Lindt commuter train. They are bringing this one back. It was one of the originals a few years ago when they started this series, so they're just reissuing it with an upgrade. And the construction freight, I think the locomotive is a new, but the rest of it was done before. SEA Logistics. And then the ICE board restaurant car. This is a new panorama version. The original one didn't have the panorama roof. This is stuff, I've got a couple of these for my grandson Kyan. And the new turntable kit, interesting. And some farm stuff and all kinds of... This is Märklin Startup, by the way, now. So I better do this. So this is a new startup train. Startup, as you can see, is 6+. So the My World stuff is under 6, 3 to 6. And then startup is entrance level hobby or aimed at young kids. I hate to say that it's aimed at young kids, but they do. They market some of these sets specifically to young kids. But startup is their startup. They're entry level. So there's some good stuff. I could see the most hardened dealer will buy some of the car and trailers and that you see here. But they definitely are built more cheaply, made at a very low price point. Here's an operating crane wagon. I just bought one recently, but it's not controlled the way this one is. All right, so let's get into the HO proper. That's a cool looking little setup there. All right, so new startup set is a Class 24, which is interesting. I just, of course, got a Class 24 from the collection I bought from Herb. But a nice little 24 and some cars to go with it. And you get the digital controller, the Mobile Station 2, which is extremely useful and much cheaper than a lot of the throttles people buy. And it's fully digital. And you get a lot of functions with the new 24. So that's very cool. Oh my. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Just say no. Here is a Prussian P8. Now, anybody who follows this channel knows I have a very old Märklin P8, one from, I shouldn't say very old, when you're a 170-year-old company. Age is relative, right? But I've got a Prussian P8 that dates back to the 70s that I converted to digital. And this is a very nice one. Color scheme is kind of the same. The print on this is better, gotta admit. And of course it's got the new functions, all kinds of functions. This is really cool. Smoke generator and everything. I know I've got a P8. are they going to make cars to go with this, the dual headlights? But this is if I got nothing else to do, this might go. But I've got a P8 and I don't need the new one. And bingo! All right, we have a compartment car set to go with it from the KPEV, which is Königreich Preußen, the Kingdom of Prussia, public transportation, basically. So a 6-car set, they're all lit. I'll bet that's going to be $300-400 as a set. We'll see how much I could get it for, but that's going on depending on the price, that might go on the pre-order, because I will now have a true and proper set to go with my P8. So even if I don't buy the new P8, I'm looking at these cars already. It depends on what else is in the catalog. But yeah, these are definitely on the definitely maybe list. Oh boy. Oh geez. Oh boy. Joyce is not going to be happy. This is a Class 01. I have a Class 01, but it's my Christmas train. It's got the Christmas stuff, and I've been saying for years I'd like a Class 01 without it. Now, I've been muttering that they were going to release an 01, and here it is, and it's got the big smoke deflectors at the front. I'm liking that. It's a 462 arrangement. I've been looking for a bigger passenger express steam locomotive. So this 01 is that's also a definite maybe, because I do want a new 01, and the one I have for Christmas would always be the Christmas one. But we're looking at steamer and a group of cars to go with it. Interesting. Era 2 cars. Very interesting car sets. Again, I like it. But and here we have a Class 59 steamer, which I believe would be a freight. It's the Württemberger Class K, former. Very sharp. Lots of functions again. You can always see the functions listed right here, and then they'll always give you the Trix sign down below, because remember, Märklin is 3-rail, Trix is the 2-rail version of Märklin, so they'll give you the Trix number there. So the same thing, but it would work on 2-rail. But I am, this is, I think, a heavy freight, and I don't need another heavy freight steamer. I'm looking for passenger, and celebrating the 175th anniversary of opening the Geislingen grade, part of Germany called Swabia, Schwaben, where this would have operated, and a rake of tankers, some with brakeman cabs attached. So very cool, very, very cool. All right, a Wismar rail bus. All right, so an Era 3. Cool. And again, you can always pause these because there's a lot here to go through. And they give you a little history of the Wismar rail bus, so cool. And speaking of Class V60s, they had the V61 earlier. Here is a V60 for general release. And apparently completely new tooling, as it says there. And again, the new decoder with all kinds of functions. And even when it lists here, that's not all the functions, because many of these spots have multiple functions on them, especially the sound ones. They'll rotate the sounds. All right, this is East German, and this is a Class 01.5 steam. So it's a 462 modification, I assume, of the old GDR. I'm sure somebody's going to correct me and say that's not quite true, but it's an 01.5. But that's East German. Very sharp looking. I do like the color scheme, but I don't do East German. I'm a product of this. And then here is a Class 03. And people have said if I want, if I don't get a Class 01 for high-speed steam express, I could get an 03, which is also a 462 arrangement, so it's basically a Pacific. Yeah, this one, the other one did come with Steam. This one says you can add it. I've actually got a couple of spare 726 smoke units. They're calling it an affordable beginner's model, so that'll be curious to see what the price point is. But this is a reissue. It's not remolded. They're just bringing it back. And they've just put in a better sound decoder than the previous one, which I don't think had sound function as well as smoke function. So they're just reissuing it. So again, maybe instead of getting another 01, I could get the 03. They're both Pacifics. But here is one people are always telling me to get. It's an 044. This is a heavy steam freighter. It's gorgeous. So far, it looks like we got a lot of steam happening with Märklin this year. But just to be a little contradictory, I've got plenty of steam now. But the 03 or the 01 I'll flip a coin between them. Maybe get the 03 since I technically have an 01. But we'll see. And okay, some cool freight sets to go with it. Dump cars, box cars, and flatbeds with stakes, which can be inserted and removed if you want just plain flatbed. But that is one kit. You get all 4 of these cars in one kit to go with that 44. I've got a bunch of those. I don't need that kit. Although the boxcar, even the dump cars are kind of cool. Don't have as many of those. But with what Mark gave me and what I got from Herb, I'm covered in this. So, but again, 044 is not on my call list. And then here is an 051. So, friends, we've been talking about 50s and 51s, but this is a freight. So, again, a lot of steamers from Märklin so far. It's the year of the steamer, I guess. And here they talk about the Class 50s, of which the 051 was a variation and upgrade, however you want to phrase it. All right, now we get a little bit away from the from the steamers, and we go with another electric, a Class 193. And this is also celebrating the Geislingen grade, which was a big rail pass. And a set of freight to go with it, a freight car set specifically for that. And then Smiley World car set. That kind of just throws me off here. Like all this classic electric freight and classic electric, classic steam, freight, passenger. And all of a sudden, oh yeah, by the way, Smileys, which is a candy. And on top of that, a new detailed boarding platform for a refrigerator car. Okay. And I actually have one of these. Not this exact one, but I do have the ocean blue and cream or beige. I've got a post. So a railroad mail car. And here's a Class 211 diesel, another shunter with, again, your extensive sound and light functions to pull. I guess they're going to have a group of cars to go with it. So, oh, here we go again. More of the ocean cream ocean blue and cream cars. I've been trying to get sort of what I consider a standard consist, but you can mix and match these, I know. But they just released a 3-car set last year, of which I bought 2. I never bought the third one, and now here's another set. Just all slightly different, but it's a cab control car. So I actually have one of those. It was a second-class cab control car with the working light functions at the end. Oh, okay, so a military train. I assume there's going to be a couple of pages of this from Era 4, so that would be the 70s to the mid-80s. And yep, and so some heavy-duty flat car with different tanks on them 4 different ones there. And okay, that's the end of it. So Halberstadt Center entry car passenger car set. Wow, that's a mouthful, isn't it? They're kind of cool looking. Era 4, so again, this would be 70s into the 80s. I assume this is East German, based on the green and the duller colors. Just has that Eastern European Cold War feel. And an additional car to go with it. So you have the 2-car set, and then you'll have 2 separate car sets. No, I'm sorry, it's a 3-car set, and this car goes in the middle of the 3-car set. And it looks like they're reissuing the Ludmilla, and there it is. Class 132 Ludmilla with piezo nebulizer. So this is upgraded. They have a nebulizer to the diesel smoke. A classic of the East German Railways, which became the 232 when the 2 countries reunited. I would get it in a 232. I won't do it as a 132. Couple of cool flatbed cars, and then Era 6. I kind of like that. That could be a set down below there. The Lads 800B pair of flat cars with cars on them. So again, the Rolling Road, as they were called, the Rollende Strasse. Oh, here's a nice one. And they're saying it's an Era 6 version. The paint scheme looks a little different. Maybe they've just, they're weathering it up a bit. I have a 151, so no, but I kind of like the looks of this one. And again, extensive sound light functions. This is, I won't say it's new because I just picked up a Class 103 from the early 2000s that has operating pantographs, but more and more of the, as they're fine-tuning their motors and how they do the inside, we are getting working pantographs. And again, when I say working pantographs, it doesn't mean you get power from the overhead lines. It's working that they can be raised and lowered. Very cool. And it's pulling a 151 would be a freight. And there's another set of coal wagons, basically. Dump car set, technically, but looks like they're filled with coal. So cool. I could use a set of those. Oh, there it is. About 3 years late. It's a Class 650. I was wondering when Märklin was going to get around to them. In 2019, Joyce and I lived in this town of Worms for a week. And we rode a lot of Class 650s. And I think it's a Roco I have. Roco had released one that year. So I bought one, you know. And I was hoping they might do 2 or 3 variations because between Worms and Mainz, we rode a lot of 650s. I would have liked the Märklin 650, but I bought the Roco. So, I don't know. There's something about this that says, meh. Again, we'll see. We'll see. And the Baden-Württemberg one. And again, Märklin does a lot of stuff that has the BW, the Bewegt, which is a private company that works in the state of Baden-Württemberg, BW. And then it's a pun, BWEGT, because in German, bewegt means movement. Okay, a classic 186. I could use a 186. Actually, I've got a 186 in Railpool, but having it in the Deutsche Bahn Regio livery, some people say I've got too many red locomotives, but I like Deutsche Bahn, and Deutsche Bahn is red. But very nice. Extensive sound and light functions again. It's got the new little front end coloring, so I'm all good with that. Do they release those container wagons? Well, not yet. Class 249. Vectron dual mode light for DB cargo. I've got a 249, so I'm not quite sure. I'd have to read this. Again, remember, this is first reactions. I'm just seeing it. I'm trying to figure out how this is different than the 249 I got from Märklin last year. It might be just, there might be some subtle differences. They're saying this is specifically for DB cargo, specifically freight, or the one I have, what I think was for DB Regio. It could do either, so maybe this one is specifically a freight. And this is kind of cool. Set of sliding wall boxcars. That would definitely be cool. And it's all era 6, so fits my era. And then a couple of semis on a flatbed with the famous Märklin boxed class. Is it? I forget if it's a class 03. And then the crocodile. There's actual containments at the Märklin factory in Gopingen, life size, that has an actual 03 or whatever the locomotive is, and it's in a shell that's made to look like a Märklin box. It's on display, so it's kind of cool. And there we go. I've got some tarpaulin cars or sliding tarp cars, and Haberlin Brewery celebrating 150 years, which for a German brewery isn't that old. So reissued with a new car number. So I could get a couple more of those. Oh, interesting. Another class 186. Hey, since you're releasing 186 in one paint scheme, do what Rocco and Pico do and release a couple more. This is HSL, which I believe HSL went belly up recently. 2020, 2021, somewhere in there, I seem to recall. And are they selling the Gatex? No. Oh, it's a class 77 kerosene transport train set. So you get some kerosene, or is that a class 66? Or a class? It is a class 77. I was right the first time. Yeah. With all kinds of cool stuff on the inside, but it's a train set. So you get the 77 and 3 GATX wagons. So cool. And again, extensive sound and light functions. All right, so now Märklin starts doing the other countries. And of course, they tend to focus on the Germanic countries, but they will branch out. So you've got a Swiss AE68 electric locomotive, era 3. So this would have been 50s to the end of the 60s. From the second construction series, and this is a new construction from Märklin. They have not done this model before. And again, extensive functions. And again, you can pause this, but it's a big thing. And to go with it, little Swiss freight car set. 5 cars in the set. Okay, cool. 50th anniversary of the Swiss Express. So the first one. This looks cool for its time. So we've got CFF, SBB, FFS in the 3 different languages of Switzerland. Actually, there's 4 different languages in Switzerland, but so you're going to get this locomotive, the RE442, from its first series. And it's Märklin's first time doing it. New construction of this. And then all kinds of cool features they're doing. But obviously they're going to do 2 sets of cars to go with it. So 42190 Swiss Express passenger car set. These are cool. I would not get it. I really don't have a need. I have no connection to this at all. And there's a second set. So you get this 4-car set. And then you get the 2-car set. And they're showing you the much multicolored interior with it. Well designed. And then the coupling car set. Interesting. I don't really have any knowledge of this. I'm just reading what it says. Swiss Express Sputnik. And I'm trying to do a review. So those are kind of weird. I've never seen anything like that. And again, remember, I did not grow up with trains. And model trains I've only been in for a few years. So, and mostly German. So this is something new and different to me. Very interesting. And a Era 5 AE 610. I was going to say a 610, but an AE. I'm starting to recognize this one. Cargo with some very colorful dump car sets. The Hastag. And those are cool. Austrian, we get a Class 52 Austrian. So we've got a Class 51 German, but here's a Class 52 Austrian. And Class 52 uh, were were everywhere at one time right after the war. So you can read a little bit there what's in it, but another steamer, this time Austrian, and a 4-car freight set to go with it. And, gee, speak of the devil, here's a Class 186 in the Euro Cargo Rail livery. It's kind of cool. So I've got my options for a Class 186, 3 different options. The Deutsche Bahn Red, which would be my first go-to. The HSL, which it's weird. I would not have known anything about HSL, but I was just talking with somebody, and they were mentioning that this company had gone belly up. I think somebody else, like last year, Pico or somebody had released an HSL, and they had said, gee, now everybody's making livery now that they're out of business, and now Märklin's released it. And this is obviously French, Class 186 in a French company livery. Oh, some Italian passenger trains from Era 5. Well, I've got a Italian passenger car set. I don't know if that's Era 4, 5, or 6. I'll have to do some research on those group of Acme Italian cars, but they're beautiful. So, but I'm not going to suddenly expand any further into Italy. But nice car set, the Eurofirma class. And the Netherlands can't be forgotten. So, classic Class 1100, new design for its 75th anniversary of the 1100 series. A Class 1100, and looks like it's going to have extensive sound and light functions, all new MFX decoder, MFX Plus, and looks like they're going to have some sort of chemical cars, tankers to go with it, chemical tankers. Voila! Spherical container car set. Okay. Or you can get the sliding tarp car, Era 6 at West Costa. Now that's kind of cool, just to mix with the other tarp cars, and that's Era 6, so that would fit with my freight, although yes, I have Era 4 and 5 freight stuff now. And from Luxembourg. Okay, you're talking to me just because it's Luxembourg. We got flatbed with a couple of semi-trailers on it. They call it a double pocket car, okay? And to include Belgium, well, we have Denmark and Norway and Sweden as well. They're really getting that Western European zone. They've got France, Belgium, Luxembourg, Netherlands. So, but interesting little rail car here. It's a Belgian version of the Vismar they were showing earlier. And there's a real prototype. Sweden. Okay, we got Sweden, Era 5, Class RC Electric 6. This was passenger, I believe. I think I've seen a variation of this running at Miniature Wonderland. But really extensive sound and light functions over there on the decoder. There's got to be a rake of cars that go with it, right? And bingo! So a 4-car set of the Swedish State Railways. So there you go. Cool little set. I'm not branching into Sweden at this time, but it's a cool looking set for its era. And there's Denmark. So you got another Moab, which they just released one a couple of years ago. So it's a variation of it. The Noab. And then a pressurized gas tank car. Okay. For Danish Railways. And for the Czech Republic, we've got a Class 650. That's interesting because that's what Pico or Roko did. They released the Deutsche Bahn Red, and then they released a Czech one. So now Märklin, 2 years later, following suit. As much as I do like my Czech trains, not one I'll be adding to the consist. Poland. So we're going national. We got a Class 370. It's a Vectron 193. but PKP Cargo. So my friend Mark, you run 2-rail, so there'll be a tricks version of this if this one gets you going. Mark from Model Railway Fantasia, for various reasons, connected to his Polish trains. So here's a cool one for you. And some Polish rail side dump car set. So Polish rail side dump cars here. And hey, they've got to keep it going. So another variation of the Eve ES44 AC. Now Märklin introduced a couple of these a couple of years ago, and then they've just released a couple of new paint schemes each year. I think this makes 6 or 7 different liveries for the ES44. I think it's starting to run its course here. Let's try, if you're going to do American, let's get a couple of other modern American ones. The Pennsylvania Railroad version of this I thought was really cool. They did 2 Union Pacifics. And Toy Fair locomotive for 2025, another crocodile, retro crocodile. That's being released in one of the oldest Märklin boxes, the little red box up there. And again, this is just a total tin plate re-release. And then the Märklin catalog car, which is a running theme they had. You can go back to my other reviews. They'll release another 1 or 2 with each catalog, the summer catalog and then the fall Christmas catalog. And this is an interesting one, but this is also a retro tin plate, so they are definitely digging out the old retros and just redoing them. Let me know, those of you that are Märklinistas, really into Märklin, how you feel about some of these real old timers being re-released. Would you rather they just put the time and money into making these models but in modern form with modern tech? But again, it probably doesn't cost much to roll these out. All right, so now I have a hunch we're going to smaller scale here. Yep, Z gauge. So I'll just zip through this real fast because I'm about the HO. The ICE experimental in Z scale. Good for them. That's cool. I just got the HO one. The ICE experimental. So they're doing that scale. A class 628. I need a class 628 in HO. And collector series of manufactured models. A bronze car edition. Okay, now we're just looking to make money there. An E60. And again, this is all Z scale, 1 to 120. Look at that little class 03 steamer. Again, not going to be as detailed because you got to remember, Z scale is really small. It's the second smallest scale out there, professionally released scale. A rake of cars, express train, very similar to the ones they're doing in HO scale that they showed earlier to run with the 03. So they're doing a HO and a Z scale version of it. Okay. And some exotics they call. Okay, it was about 3-4 years ago they did this class 288 double diesel. They released it in HO, now in Z scale. And of course the Smileys in Z scale. Class 290 diesel hydraulic with the construction train car set with the passenger cars for the workers and such. And hey, you're doing the Geislinken grade in HO, you're going to do it in Z scale. You can always tell the Z scale codes because they are they begin with 8s, usually 88, but it can be 81, 82, etc. So here you go, 01 in Z scale, very sharp for Z scale, and a 232, a Ludmilla, but now in the Deutsche Bahn scheme from the 70s. Sugar beet transport and little. And there had to be a Class 103 somewhere in here, right? There has to be. And of course, anybody who follows this channel knows I just got an HO Class 103 in this livery, so that's kind of cool. Looks like it's pulling some Austrian ECs there in that picture. And the famous Class 111 and the touristique livery little trend they did. Whoops, sorry about that. And then a Swiss modern era, the SBB Class 420 and a 3-car set. Kind of cool. Austria Class 1018 and a 3-car set. So these are all sets. And then the diesel V100. And then I think we're going into 1 scale, which is the big stuff. And this stuff is expensive. A Red Arrow, the famous Red Arrow, that's going to be expensive. There's no way that won't be expensive. We're talking thousands in 1 scale. Thousands of dollars. And a couple of cars. And some people in 1 scale. Made of brass and then painted. So the museum cars, this is different scales. So the HO museum card. So the 3 different gauges, and then the Christmas, the startup annual card. I shouldn't say Christmas. This is a startup. You know, they make a car for club members if you're in the startup club. I'm looking for the Christmas cars. They might not announce them yet, but they usually put them in. And this is the Insider. This is a different club. If you want these, you put in special orders and you have to be a member of the Märklin Insider. I was a member of Märklin Insider and I tried to renew it and something happened and I didn't get renewed for 2024 and I haven't rejoined. I would like to, but I never buy the cars anyhow. Okay, so that was, considering I also looked at Z, it's going to be a long video. But that was a look at the Märklin. A lot of steam, Not a lot of Air 6, but some. Not a bad catalog at all. A lot of cool stuff in there, a lot of tempting stuff. But other than the Class 03 or 01, it's going to be a coin flip. And those Prussian cars. I'm going to see what the price is for those Prussian cars. It'll be another day or two, I think, before they're in the LIPA system to see what I can get them for. But be that as it may, those will, depending on price, I'll pre-order those. All right, so I want to thank you on this long journey. I know these come out 45 minutes when I do the Märklin one because it's just more packed. I will say it was a much nicer catalog than what Pico had out, not even in terms of what they offered. Pico might have offered a lot of cool stuff, but the CADs and the photographs don't do it. It's seeing the model, looking at the model. So kudos to Märklin. They still got a lot of production models available for the catalog here. And they always have surprises. They have more they're working on, but because they don't have production models, that's where their summer catalog and their winter release catalogs come in. So again, thank you for coming along this journey. I hope you enjoyed looking at what Märklin's offering to start the year off. Not to mention the stuff they still haven't released from last year, including 2 pre-orders I have. I'm going to say to all of you, Auf Wiedersehen, tschüss and happy trains. Take care, everybody.